checkout tracking by the NPD group brings you a receipt collecting system that gathers data anonymously through technology we created, providing your businesses with answers.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Okay, cool. So today I'd like to talk about turning ad units into app features and share what some of the most successful developers in the space are doing and how they're doing it and what the benefits are if this is pulled off correctly. So there are tons of different advertising formats that are out there, but I really want to focus on rewarded video, which we consider the everybody wins ad unit. And if you're a developer from a market opportunity standpoint, rewarded video is really driving incredible value for the advertiser, which means as the developer, if you want to tap into where the money is flowing, rewarded video, especially for in-app, is really becoming the opportunity. And if we look at the three different sort of players that are involved in this, there's the user, the advertiser, and the developer. So for the user, it's an opt-in experience. The user chooses if and when they want to engage with rewarded video. And just for maybe people who don't know, so the idea of rewarded video is the user is in your application, they engage with video content, and in exchange they receive in-app content for doing that action. So it's opt-in, they choose if and when they want to engage with it. And as opposed to other advertising formats, for example, with banner ads, it doesn't really enhance the the application or the experience for the user. But because with rewarded video, you're granting the user value, there's a real reason for them to engage with the advertising, and it does enhance their overall experience with your application. Because of that, for the advertiser, it's a quality engagement. So video is the #1 medium to communicate messages. It's high definition. It's pre-cached to the device, so it's a great experience. And there's also a positive brand association. So the advertiser is involved with a value exchange, so it's more powerful for their brand to be seen in that positive light. And for the developer, there's lots of benefits. It helps with the engagement of the application as well as revenue and also retention. And we're really just going to focus on sort of the value and the benefits for the developer and look at why and the how. So in terms of the why, and what the main benefits are. So we put together a group of 50 developers that work with Supersonic, and we went through and sat down with them and understood, what is the impact that rewarded video is having in your application. And there's two main interesting things that I want to look at. The first is the impact on engagement. So we looked at the average amount of games that a user will play per session and dividing that between users that do not engage with ads and users that do. And then what we saw was from the low end, so these are users that don't play too many sessions at all during the day, and they don't play too many games per session, all the way up to the most hardcore users. Users that are engaging with advertising are spending more time and playing more games per session. Now, that's true mostly until you get to the very far end to the right. So you're really hardcore users that are super dedicated to the game. There isn't much of an impact there. These are users that are playing your game no matter what and really like the content. But for the more casual amounts of users that don't often play too much during the day and they don't play too many sessions, we're seeing that you're able to generate more games per session by having rewarded video introduced into the application. And that's obviously a positive benefit. You want to try as much as possible to have users playing more games per session when they do engage with your app. Okay, and the second one I would like to focus on is the impact on revenue. So of course you're going to generate revenue from the advertising dollars that are delivering inside of your application, but what is more interesting is the impact on in-app purchase. So the classical theme is that, well, I'm going to cannibalize my in-app purchase revenue, so I'm scared about introducing ads and I don't know what's going to happen. So we spent a lot of time on this with our developers, and what we actually saw is the opposite, that by including rewarded video and looking at the users that don't engage with advertising and the users that do, the users that are engaging with advertising, and again, specifically rewarded video, are spending more as a cohort of users than the others. So of course the mileage varies a little bit for non-paying user groups, but what we found is an average of 4.5% of users will make an in-app purchase. And for users that engage with rewarded video, it's almost double. It's a little bit over 9% on average of users in that cohort that will not only watch rewarded video, but spend money within the application as well. Okay, so in terms of the how, so these are the benefits that you can have if you have rewarded video in your application, and how are developers going about doing this. And the general idea is thinking about your application with advertising in end-to-end design. So you want a complete package for the user versus having a fully finished product with a bunch of add-ons and just sticking ads there, and it's kind of a tackier experience, and the quality is not as good, and the outcomes that you get are obviously not as powerful. So obviously everyone wants to be on the left, and it's really about designing your apps with the fundamentals in mind. And in terms of looking at how we're doing, so I want to look at a couple of examples of what developers are doing. So the first example is the game Peggle Blast by PopCap. So Peggle Blast is a level-based game you play. It's sort of like a bubble shooter, and you go through different puzzles. And they use rewarded video to grant the user boosts. So this is how they kind of connect it to the core mechanic of the game. So the first rule in terms of the way to really integrate it into a feature is the visual design. So you really want the call to action or the traffic driver with the user to really be integrated with the look and feel. You can see it's the same style guide, the same fonts and the same coloring. They even introduce, in the bottom you can see the octopus. It's one of the characters in the story in the game, so it's an avatar that's built into it. And the second rule is a very clear call to action. So what should the user be doing and why do they want to engage with this feature? They say, here's a free gift, click, and to claim it. So it's really clear to the user, okay, what is the point of this feature and why am I going to click on it? Now in terms of the flow, so once the user sort of arrives here, this is sort of the pre-action screen. Once they click, they go into the video. After the video is over, Peggle does something one-up versus most. So the user goes into sort of a luck minigame. So they can spin the wheel. They get 1 of 8 available options. Obviously, there's sort of the lower end, more common boosts that you can get in the game. But then the user now has the chance to earn sort of that 1 mega power-up that they really want to get. It's the most expensive. They don't always get a chance of getting it. So it introduces this aspect into the gameplay as well. And finally, at the end, this is sort of the third main visual rule, is to really bookend the experience. So this is a loop just like any of the game loops or any other loops in the application. You really want to give the user a successful feeling when they've reached the end, let them know they completed the action that they were supposed to do, they completed it well, and they got what they were going for. So it's a great example. Any game which has boosts or any type of augment that the user can use to enhance the gameplay is a perfect way to pair it with rewarded video. And specifically here, sort of going one level above, adding in this minigame, there are lots of different game modes inside of the application, and Peggle was able to introduce another minigame into that and enhance the gameplay further. And sort of that luck and chance are always very powerful mechanics. Everybody wants the opportunity to win sort of the #1 thing that they really want that maybe they can't get otherwise. So it really takes it to the next level. Okay, the second example I want to look at is a game called Pirate Kings by Jelly Button Games. So this is a really awesome game. Basically, you're sort of the pirate on the seas, and you want to really build up your pirate islands and then fight and defeat your friends and really grow your base. And the main mechanic is all around this wheel. So you spin the wheel, that's how everything is done, and that allows you to take any action within the game. And they use a consumable, which is this green liquid that powers the wheel. So when you run out of the power, of course, you can buy more or you can wait, but they also let you watch videos to kind of increase that. So it's a great way if any is a turn-based game and you want to keep increasing the loops. This is really powerful for, again, increasing the amount of games that a user will play per session by allowing them to continue to play. So first, in terms of visual integration, so Jelly Button does something which is really awesome. When videos are available, this jug of water, which has the liquid that powers the wheel, will spin up, will float up into the UI. And it's way more than just a standard call to action. It's now really a fixture within the world that the user is playing, and it's part of the overall design. So it's a great way to integrate it, and it's really novel. Once the user clicks, then they go into the pre-action screen. Sorry. And again, it's a very clear message to the user. What is the value proposition? Like, why do you want to engage with this feature? What are you going to get out of it? They go into the video playback. After the video is over, again, they bookend the experience. So it's a native message to the user. You completed, you successfully have gone through the loop, and you've gotten what you were looking for. So these work really well with any turn-based games. And again, what's really great here is a really native integration in terms of providing the user a fixture within the game world. It's more than just sort of ads floating here. It's part of the overall experience of the island and the different elements that the user will play with. Okay, the third example is a game called Tap Titans by GameHive. So this is a great game. It's similar to Jelly Button in the sense that it's like a clicker style game. So the main mechanic is defeating monsters. It's also an RPG style game. So you build up your user, you get more power ups, you can bring in friends to help you, and you can engage in PvP. And it's similar to Peggle in the sense that you get various boosts, but they all essentially translate to increasing the progression and speeding up the gameplay, whereas in Peggle, it's about solving different puzzles. With Tap Titans, all about being fast. So the more you tap, the more damage you do. The more damage you do, the more gold you get. The more gold you get, you increase your player, and it kind of repeats in this cycle. And what really feels great to the user in this game is being able to defeat your enemies really fast. You want to tap really quickly and destroy them. So it's all about speed, and yes, about boost, but we consider very much about speeding up the gameplay and allowing the user to feel more powerful faster. So in terms of the visual cue to the user, so they have another great integration in this game. There is a fairy, and when the fairy floats onto the screen, it's holding a chest, and the chest contains the boost for the user. And it's a great cue. The fairy kind of floats around the screen, and it's really there. It's part of the elements that the user is engaging with. When the user clicks on the fairy, okay. Again, there is the call to action, so it's a clear value proposition to the user. This is different than in Peggle. So in Peggle, the user isn't quite sure. There's an element of luck and chance, like what are they going to get? Whereas in this example, it's very clear to the user, this is the boost that you're going to receive. The user can choose to not engage with it if they don't want to. Maybe it's something that's not interesting for them. If they do, they go into the video. And once the video is over, again, the third rule is really bookending the experience and giving the user a positive notification. Now, what's really great and sort of the one level above where Tap Titan takes it here and turning this more than just an ad unit into a feature in the game is that sometimes you just get the boost for free. So the fairy will show up and you'll tap and you'll get it for free and you don't need to do anything, and it's an even greater value for the user because now they got it 100% for free without having to take any action. And this is really sort of the pivotal thing to push it more towards a feature in the game, because now every time the fairy shows up, you're curious as the user, is this going to be the one time I'm going to get it for free and I'll get the boost without having to even engage with advertising, or do I need to watch a video? So it really spikes the engagement rate because the user always wants to know, maybe this is the time I'm going to get it. So it really puts a lot to kind of get the user into the funnel and gives them that extra great feeling of feeling good the times when they do get it for free. Okay, and the last example, which is probably the most classic and one of like the really early ones that developers are using but still works really well, is the revive or the continue mechanic. So this is a game called Cosmo by Cherry Pick Games. It's an infinite runner style game, so you have a little like cosmonaut astronaut and you float through the clouds and you try and avoid different obstacles. And if you run into any of the obstacles, then you will die and you'll go back to sort of the main screen. So when the user runs into one of the obstacles, I'm really trying to get the timing of this down. So you have the option to then revive here. And if you choose to use the revive, so you go into the video, of course, and then after it's over, you go out. Now, what's unique here and sort of any active gameplays, so it's not like a turn-based game, but you're really doing something physically. So again, on the bookend, you really want to transition the user well from the ad experience back into the game. So you don't want to just immediately throw them back into it. If the user is watching the video, they complete that, you throw them back into it, and then they immediately hit another obstacle and they die, they're going to feel pretty crappy about that. So in this game, they pause the action, so the avatar just floats there. The user chooses when they want to do it. Other really good examples are a timer, so you give the user the ability to wait, and you want to transition them smoothly back into the gameplay. And again, sort of the extra level that Cosmo has done here is that the revive works on a timer. So that little bar is counting down there, and you only have a limited amount of time to decide if you want to do it or not. So that sort of under pressure moment for the user really helps push them more towards engaging with this. They've already progressed so much through the game. If they don't, they have to go all the way back to the beginning of the level, and they might have been really close to getting that high score, and they just want to revive and kind of keep playing. So it drives a lot of engagement and really makes this much more of a feature as part of the core gameplay mechanic itself. Okay, so those are a number of different examples, and basically, again, the idea is taking the ad unit and building it more into a feature, into the core loops of the game itself, so that the user understands this is part of the action that they're going to play with. And all of them, although they're different applications with different gameplay styles, they all can adhere to the same rules, which really help drive the benefits that we saw rewarded video can have. The first one is integrated into the core loops of your game. So these were a number of examples. I'm sure many of the game developers out there either use these or they have games which are very similar. But whatever your gameplay style is, think of what is the core mechanic of what you're trying to get the user to do and connect the rewarded video specifically to that. You want to use it to keep increasing the amount of times the user is playing through your game and allow them to spend more time in your application. The second, again, is obvious. Make it part of the natural look and feel. You have great art assets. Your game really has a style and a look of its own. Match that to the advertising so it really feels like it's part of the game itself. Show the player a clear value proposition. I mean, anything in your game, you really want to tell the user things are not obvious to them, so you want to help them really understand what is the point of this feature, why are you going to engage with it, and then what do you get out of it. And last, inform the player that he or she got the reward. So bookend the experience. You need to treat it like a loop, like anything else in your game. When the user successfully goes through the loop, you want to let them know you did a good job, you made it to the end, and this is exactly what you were supposed to do. And lastly, kind of obvious, just get creative. We saw some really good examples, the jug in the water or the fairy. You can really turn this more than just a simple button which the user clicks to watch the video, which is kind of rote and not that interesting, to get very creative with the game and really bring the user and this feature more so into the world that the user is playing inside of. Cool. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much.
Turn mine off. Oh.
Right. Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? We've got about 5 minutes, so a few questions. Yeah, there you go, gentlemen.
Okay, so it's just a quick question. Regarding the video, what is an average length of a video before the player gets really annoyed? 10 seconds, 15 seconds? What is a good length of a video to show?
So the main formats in terms of what advertisers are buying now are 15 to 30 seconds. So the length is mostly driven by the effective format for the advertiser. But there are a lot of advertisers that are experimenting with 3 to 6 seconds. So it's kind of going in different directions. But right now it's around 15 to 30 seconds. Yeah, I can hear you.
And how many videos is good to have in a game, not to overextend it? I mean, how many videos should you have in a game without really annoying the player?
So the beauty of the opt-in experience is that you, like in the same way with in-app purchase, like you don't want to limit the user if they want to spend money. So if they want to spend as much money as possible, then let them spend. So in the same way, if you craft it in the right process, you don't need to limit the amount of ads that the user is going to see. If they're done and they don't want to engage with the advertising, then they don't need to. But a lot of developers that we work with, they get a lot of user complaints that there are no more ads, or how come I don't get enough ads per day. So if you build it correctly in a way, the user will decide how many ads is right for them. And if they decide that they just want to stop watching ads, then they can ignore the feature.
Anybody else?
Have you looked at pushing ads for your own product, for your own things within your app or sister apps versus external things in the videos?
So if you're the developer pushing videos for content that's your own?
Yes, versus external.
So certainly for cross-promotion, let's say if you have like a basket of games, or if you have more like serialized content, like shorter apps, and you kind of want to push the user from app to app each week, it works really well. So definitely for cross-promotion, it's really powerful. It's pretty early, it's still in the phases, and even Google kind of spoke about that too, in terms of pushing content, like in terms of selling things to user, or things you want to do, or like deep linking to the store. So that's kind of very early on. It's really good to experiment, but definitely for cross-promotion and kind of building users, there are a lot of developers that have that game per week style, and they kind of always come out with new content. You already have that user base, they already like your game, so you can transition them very easily to your new game.
Anybody else? Yep.
Quick question on the ad mix. Is it better to have like a good mix of brand versus other gaming ads in your app? Is there a difference in performance? What should be like a good mix?
So it sort of depends in terms of who's buying and sort of what the integration is. So in our platform, we allow the developer to make multiple ad placements. And some ad placements, in terms of the content that you want to serve, will work better. So for example, if a user is about to go into a level, they maybe don't necessarily want to leave and download an app if it's an app install trailer. So brand inventory, which is more like a 15 to 30 second commercial, it works better there. And you can segment, say, okay, this is the type of ad content I want. And usually after the user has completed a cycle, there's kind of like a lull in the action. They don't immediately want to go into the next one, so it's a better location to put performance-based ads. But with a mediation solution, so part of our platform is to help automatically optimize according to that yield. So if you have multiple placements and we're looking at the highest effective performance, you want to see exactly how many dollars can you generate per impression. So the system mostly works to define that for you. Sometimes you're surprised. A lot of those ideas that you have, well, I think this will work better, this will won't. Your users are different. They're very unique also in the kind of content you want to serve. So it's really good to let it run, see how they react, and again, let the user inform you versus making too many decisions up front.
I really like your idea. I thought it was great. I mean, if you have a clear call to action, I don't see why you wouldn't watch a short video. But I wanted to ask, does your platform provide any kind of analytics, or is it just like purely a platform for creating the advertisements? Or does it give you like what kind of advertising where? Does it have any kind of like guidance towards for the developer if they're not specialized in creating small parts for advertisements in their games?
Yeah, so our platform is all around ad mediation. So what we want to provide to the developer is a one-stop shop to both integrate the advertising in terms of whatever format that you want, and also include different demand sources that you can access. And part of it is always a little bit art and a little bit science. So our team basically will start with you from the beginning and show a lot of the sort of the best practices that are working and help you as a developer really figure out what's going to work for you. And it's always a little bit of trial and error. So the beauty of the ad placements built into the solution is to be able to try out different locations, work a little bit to get it right, and really help you maximize as time goes on.
Thank you so much. Did anyone else have a question? I think we have time for one more. No? All right. Sure.
So how much more money do the brands or companies pay for video ads compared to full screen ads? Regarding what's the, how much more will you get, basically? Single question.
So for any advertiser buying this ad unit, generally the performance is around 30 to 40% better for the advertiser in terms of the post-view engagement. So that's after the ad is over, and if the the user wants to go to the advertiser's landing page or go to the App Store, versus what they're seeing in terms of click-through rates from banners or from interstitial. And that's really why most of the advertising dollars are really aggressively driving towards this, because of the uptick that they're seeing in the post-view click-through rates.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's give a big round of applause for Adam.
Thanks.